everyone. Welcome to the fourth webinar in the series of B2B sales webinars. Today we are, as you know, we are talking about LinkedIn and how to generate leads via LinkedIn. Today we imagine this in a way that it will last around 1 hour and a half. Basically, Patrick will talk, let's say, one hour plus question and answers, but feel free to interrupt with a question in a way that if it is connected to something which Patrick is talking about. So Patrick is founder of the Prospect Labs company, which do the LinkedIn lead generation service. So basically he's very deep in this topic. So I will let him now to speak, and I wish you a pleasant evening.
Thank you very much. So thank you everybody for taking the time at the end of a busy day to listen to me talk to you about lead generation and about LinkedIn. I know you might not all be traveling home from work because you're probably all still working from home, but still towards the end of the day, I know your concentration span might be a little bit less than maybe at the start of the day. So the reason I really want to get your focus today is I think LinkedIn for B2B companies is the best platform that you can generate leads, but it's also one of the biggest places that you can waste a lot of time if you're not doing things right. So what I want to do today is show you a mix of skills. One is a quick introduction to how I think you should analyze your LinkedIn profile and how to get the best use of that, how to find your target audience, so different ways to search for people, the types of messages to use, and then a quick introduction to some automated software as well. Please, can you make sure that you send any questions, because this is completely interactive. There's no silly questions, no naive questions, but it's something that I need to make sure you're focused and you're going to get value from it. So can everybody do me one favor? Can you just send me a message on live chat, as in the questions? Just let me know out of 10, how do you feel today? So I would say I'm a 8.9. So I've shared that. Can everybody just say how they feel out of 10 today? Basically, what I want to do is say, are you awake and are you online? Also, it's quite nice to know if anybody's having a tough time or if anybody's very happy. So there should be, I don't know what we've got here, about 19 responses. So that looks good. And on average, everybody's about a 7 or an 8. So looking pretty good. Okay, so we'll get started here. If anybody cannot see the screen, if there's any problems with sound, please let me know. So first of all, what I want to show you is a LinkedIn profile. And the reason being is a quick check. If anybody clicks on my network and you go to LinkedIn, this is how it looks when you're trying to connect with somebody. And what I want you to do is start to think about the following things. How do you want to be perceived? So for example, when you go to a meeting with a client, do you wear shorts and t-shirt? Do you wear a tracksuit? Do you wear glasses? Do you wear a bow tie? Or do you wear something smart because you want to be taken seriously? It's the same way on LinkedIn. How do you want to be perceived as that first impression? And there are a few things around this. So say, for example, Anna, who's looked to connect here. The profile picture, it's okay. It's quite professional, but it could still be better. Tagline, freelance video editor, motion graphics designer. So I know what Anna does, but I have no idea why she's connecting with me. The next person here, Magdalena Wojwoda. Hey, message in Polish. I don't speak Polish, so what is the point in that? This one here, a message in Polish. I don't speak Polish. The next one here, CEO at Nordic 5 at Nordic 5. Sounds great, CEO, but what does Nordic 5 do? I have no idea. This one here, freelance web designer. Well, why would I connect with somebody that's not a person, not a company page? So it only gets down to this one, where it says Steve Murray, professional picture, and then an actual connection to say, your profile looks interesting, it'll be great to connect. So my point I'm trying to share with you so far is all of these people have gone to the time to connect with me, but I have no idea why. So I would press ignore to all of them. So when I'm looking at these, very, very quickly, you have a first impression. Don't trust, trust, not so sure. And you can see all these, if you scroll down here, fairly professional, quite professional, professional, not professional, 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 maybe a little bit too much. So all I'm trying to say is you don't realize it, but the human brain will instantly make a judgment of someone straight away just because of how they look. So one thing I implore you to do is get a professional profile picture. This is a great picture here. Nothing that is too sensational. So not smiling, not selfies, not sunglasses. And don't think it has to be in situ either. So don't try and have a picture of you speaking at an event or a TED talk or something. The reason being it's just too small, you can't see anything. So the profile picture needs to be something where somebody looks at it and says, okay, seems fine. They don't have much of an opinion about it. So that's a great profile picture. That's great. That's great. That's great. That's great. So a lot of these are very, very good. But you need to make sure that all, like Vlad, see your picture, very good. So all your profile pictures, the first thing is the actual picture. The second thing is your tagline. So let's look at here. Karina Antrim is connected and said, head of people. How is head of people going to change my life at all? So I don't understand what she does, as in, is she CEO or is she intern? And what's the effect on me? Why should I connect? And also, she hasn't sent a message at all. So this one here, hey, Patrick, a client of mine asked for some help introducing her credit repair services, was hoping to connect. Completely crazy. It's got nothing to do with me. Vlad, we now know each other. Send me a connection message. Hey, Pat, looking forward to the talk on Tuesday. Let's connect. So my point is all of these people are wasting the time because nobody's sending connection messages. So today what I'm going to be doing is showing you optimize your profile and then the searches and then the messaging. So let's look at a few profiles that I really like. So profiles are split in between company and personal. So if we have a look at company, this is a company profile, and this is something I really like. So a few things you can see about this. It's branded in the background image. So it's not just a plain background, it's branded in the image. And it has the call to action here. Secure your communications, call, conference, text, and transfer with complete confidence. So the idea behind this is it's completely branded in terms of what they do and how it looks. The other thing is if you have a look about this, they have community hashtags that they're keeping involved with, and they have a lot of posts that they're doing and updating. And then if you have a look at about, it's very clear what they do, their website, their skills, their specialities. So the first thing is, how do you want to be perceived for business? And is this an empty company page or is this a company page with information about you? So make sure your background image is there. Then when you click on employees, you'll see that this is a few of the employees. You'll see how it's all very tidy. Similar profile images as in a black and white style, job role, at company, and what they do. So he says he's CEO, so he's the decision maker, what the company is, and the impact, keeping private conversations secure for important people. So when they're contacting lawyers, when they're contacting startups, it's very clear what they do. And so it's a completely branded company. So if we go back to here, and I think Almira, maybe you're on the call now with us, I think. So if you click on your profile, and this is not picking on you, it's just giving some feedback. This is now your profile, personal profile, not the company profile. So with your personal profile, try and think of the following. The same again, this background image here, you're not using this perfect sort of real estate of how to explain what you do. So have some sort of tagline, have an image, have a call to action, whatever it is, but have something where you use this space to your advantage. And if we have a look at, say, John's profile, if you look at the difference, they use a white background, which makes it look all blended in, which I think looks very cool. White and so black and white profile, secure your communications. So Almira, from your profile, I don't know what's the impact of your job, what you do, but you could say, save money, free up time, make things more efficient, account associate, save money, or whatever it might be. So the point is, try and use your profile. This is if you're a business owner or running a business, by the way. Try and use your profile of what you're trying to achieve or something about you. Okay. The next thing is thinking about the tagline. So here we go. So Nina, this is another good one. And finally, you've sent a message. So at least I know the context. So thank you for that. So Nina, if you think of your profile and this tagline here, storyteller, super connector, womanpreneur. So really good in terms of, I get a feeling for the impact. So I know the why, and the why is all the impact of what you could do. So I already think you're an interesting person in the what's here, but I don't know the what. So what do you do? So if you're connecting with me and I didn't know you on this talk, I wouldn't accept, because how do I know? So if you say, let's have a look here, Swiss VP, so say system facilitator, program officer. So program officer at Swiss EP helping something. So although that can be your style and there's no necessarily right or wrong, just think back to when people are connecting, are people going to get the context of what you say? So the best thing I try and do is say to somebody something like this, and maybe even this is a little bit too long. So I would say maybe go to John's is probably the best. Joe, sorry. So I think this is perfect in terms of at a glance, job role at company, and then the effect. And the effect can be something like helping startups to save money, helping accelerator programs to take over the world, helping accountant firms to build relationships, whatever it might be. But if you can get that right, people at a glance can get a bit more of a feeling of how my life's going to be a bit better if I connect. So again, if we go back to all these connections, in general, I wouldn't usually accept that because I don't know why, don't know why, don't know why, don't know why. So many of these I wouldn't connect with. Wrong language, don't know why, wrong person, wrong person. So all of these, not a single one says, hey, Patrick, interested in what you do, would like to learn more. That's about it. I think, Nina, in terms of your feedback, in terms of your bio, I wouldn't even click on the bio, and this is my point. This is your couple of seconds chance for me to have a look. And if I have a look at this, people just go ignore, ignore, ignore. And the problem is because LinkedIn is sort of turning into a sales Tinder in sort of way. People don't spend a lot of time looking into your profile, looking into information. People have sort of less attention span. And so that's why I'm saying the best thing to do to get somebody's attention is just say either your job role or where you work or the impact. And again, this is my angle of what gets results for me, my clients. So there's no sort of right or wrong. It's just my angle that I say, take what you like. If not, no problem. But what you want to do is get something that somebody will look at this and think, okay, I want to learn more. Next thing, although Joe's not doing this, LinkedIn has an option called featured. So I'll have a look if anybody's doing it here. Nina, you possibly have it here. No, not yet. So on LinkedIn, you have an option called featured. And here we go. So there you go. Listen to your webinar, already like, I hope you connect. So great, I can click accept. So if we have a look at this profile, one thing is about adding a featured section. So as you scroll down, and this is real perfection, so that's great. Branded, the app that boosts your retail sales figures by developing your salespeople. Without even meeting you, I now know the context of what's going on. I now know your attention to detail for branding, for customer support, for your feeling is great. I just think I would change that to say, co-founder at Boostowski, helping salespeople to do something. Here's an example of featured, which is really great. So on LinkedIn, they released this maybe the last couple of months, but you can add a featured section. So the featured section is all about something that you want to direct people to. So if you click on this, it will go to YouTube. You can link to your most popular posts, your website, blogs, anything like that. I've seen some people who have featured section that links to your calendar to be able to book a demo. So think of when someone's reading this, what's great is to click there, link them to somewhere on your site, and then you've got them off LinkedIn onto your website, which is great. A few other things just quickly, because there's more exciting things than talking about your profile all the time. But in terms of the background, when you go through your experience, what somebody is doing when they connect with you or potentially when you're going to work with them is trying to judge, are you experienced enough? Are you in the position where all your previous jobs have made you an expert in your field? So should I trust what you're talking about? And the best way to do this is just try and pad out a little bit your background. So things like, what does this company do? What's your role at the company? And how do I get in touch? So if you're saying the app that boosts your retail sales figures by developing your sales figures or salespeople, can I email you? Can I book a demo? Can I sign up? So if somebody's reading this, make it really easy for them. So I would say the rule of 3 here: what the business does, what's your role in the business, and how to sign up, how to do something. And then if you go through the rest of these, start padding them out a little bit more. What the business did, what you achieved, and something you can read, a video about it, a blog you wrote, something like that. It'll feel very frustrating because this is like upgrading a CV when you're not looking for a job. It's very, very boring. But if you can get this right, It just means that in the future, you've got a much more polished profile that's going to have a bigger impact when you start campaigns, which I'll show you next. Final few bits is recommendations at the bottom. So here, what's amazing is Bilanya is giving 10 recommendations, but you're not asking for any. So make sure you both ask for them as well. A recommendation is a great way for somebody to have a quick look here and see, do I trust this person? So Bilanya is obviously working really hard to help other people and give feedback, but it'll be good to see some of your recommendations back of somebody saying, great person to work with, great company, great platform, that sort of thing. So if you were to take just a tiny few bits, I would say get the top half of your profile right. Good background image, good profile picture, the right tagline, and then a featured section. If you just have that, it would be amazing. If you have some more in terms of pad out the about section, this is amazing. So really comprehensive there, but pad out a few of those little bits. But in general, the main thing we're looking for is when you click My Network, how are you going to catch somebody's attention there? And these are the sort of things. And as you can see, profile pictures are starting to look great, taglines, that sort of thing. Remember, if I click accept, you can only speak to me if you now do a paid in-mail. Otherwise, we're not going to be talking. So it's really important you get somebody to click accept. Okay, so if you imagine we now have the profile looking good, the next thing is trying to find your searches. And I would say there are 3 different ways of how you can find your target audience on LinkedIn. And this is the first one. So LinkedIn is split into normal LinkedIn, and then you can have LinkedIn Premium, you can have Sales Navigator, and you can have Recruiter. Sales Navigator is by far the best for generating B2B leads, but today I'm just going to talk about normal LinkedIn so you can keep the costs down, and then you can maybe learn about Sales Navigator in the future. So these are the ways that I do searches. So the first one is if you click search and then click on people, and then it'll give you the option here to say all filters. And there's a few things that are really important here. Depending on what account you have, you can sometimes search for third, but I don't recommend it. So always search for second degree, which is friends of friends. And LinkedIn are always wanting you to connect with people that you know or connect with people in your circles. One thing you can do is search for connections of. So the idea behind this is that imagine you're a salesperson trying to find business leads. If you know there's a competitor or like-minded company that are very active on LinkedIn, you can do the following. So Cristobal Alonso, he's a founder of a startup Wise Guys Accelerator program that I work with a lot. If I click this and click apply, it's now going to pull up all of the second degree connections that Cristobal has. And then if I go to all filters and maybe filter by founder, this is basically my target market, because anybody that's a startup founder that's friends with Cristobal could be a good person for me to speak to, do some training with, join an accelerator program, that sort of thing. So my point here is one quick way to find your target audience is simply by leveraging other people's connections. So this doesn't always work for everybody, because sometimes people don't make the second degree connections public. But if they are public, try and scrape or try and find the people who are second degree of other salespeople, other businesses, that sort of thing. The other things that I also do, so say, for example, my target audience, United States and United Kingdom. Current companies or past companies, I don't use too much, but industries I do, and it's very important. One thing to bear in mind about industries is if you try and target, say, startup, there's no such thing. So you have to target things like internet, or computer software, or different things like this. So one way to find that is called LinkedIn Developer Codes. And I'll share you all this link in the chat. So this is one of the most boring documents you'll ever see, but it can be really helpful for you to find your industry. And so the idea behind it, that all of these industries are what's on LinkedIn. And you can see there's loads and loads of different ones. So when you think, okay, my target audience are banks, you suddenly realize you have banking, then you have financial services, then you have investment banking, then you might have, I don't know, all sorts of different things. So the point is how somebody describes their industry isn't always what you thought it is. So if I only ever looked for internet, I'm going to miss computer software. I'm going to miss, let's see what else. computer hardware, information technology and services. So there are a few there that you need to know multiple industries. Another way where if you're not sure about this is just look at one of your customers and see how they describe themselves. So for example, if I go into LinkedIn here on the search and I type in Startup Wise Guys, they describe themselves as information technology and services. If I look for Ignite 100, which is another company I work with, they describe themselves as business supplies. If we look at Y Combinator, they describe themselves as school. So one thing to be wary of is how does that company describe themselves as the industry of how you want to target. One quick question there. What about thank to the people who send the connection request to you? And then, okay, I'll cover that in a second, Bilal, in terms of the messaging. So it's about 10 minutes time, I'll cover that. So in terms of the searches, you've now got your industries correct. Profile language is relevant if you're sending in a language that's not English. So somebody connected with me in Polish, but they didn't look for, am I Polish speaking? So it's useless. So if you're not sending in English and you're sending in Russian, then do filter by Russian or Spanish. But in general, just keep that open. Schools and interests I leave open, and services I usually leave open. The one I do filter is this one. So if I to do founder, for example, like that, it's going to bring just founders, and it's a huge result. Too many people. So I want to be more filtered. So what I tend to do is look for more specific or a broader range. And this is why I do something called a Boolean search. So I would do this: founder or co-founder or, I don't know, head of sales. And maybe just look for just Lithuania and just in these industries. So what I've done there is called a Boolean search, and I'll share there so you can see it a bit better. So you have to use quotation mark, has to be a space here, capital OR, and then the next space. Now, if you try this out, what you'll find is that your search results are a lot better in terms of either founders, some CEOs, some founders, some co-founders, but it's a mix of people. Now, because I've got United Kingdom there, there's loads of data. But if I search for something where I don't have too much, so let's say, I don't know, France, my results might be a lot less. And so it's always good to try and stretch the number of job titles to find more of your audience that you're looking for. So can everybody just let me know one thing? When you're looking for the search results here, what sort of number are you looking for? So are you looking for 1, or are you looking for 10,000, or anything in between? Can anybody let me know what sort of numbers in terms of search results you're looking for? So when you're doing a search on LinkedIn, what type of results are you looking for? And so some people are saying 20, some people are saying 500. Can anybody else let me know what they think? 100? Let's see. So the way to understand this is if you scroll down, the maximum you can say on normal LinkedIn is 100 pages, and I think it's 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, you can only see 10 on each page. So in maximum you can see is 1,000. So although it says 1,400 results, if I go to page 100, I'm only going to be able to see the 1,000th results, and that's it. So you never want your results to be anything over 1,000, because even if it says 1,400, you can only see the first 1,000 anyway. So you're best off trying to find something more specific. So I would say, if people are right, round about 500 is good. 500 says more than enough to set up campaigns to automate, which I'm going to show you, but not so few that you get through all the data in a day or two. So about 500 is a good sample set to say you can test this out. Okay, so if we go back to the filters, we have second degree, location, industry, and job title. And so that's one way where you can find your search criteria very simply based on just what they do. Okay, the next way that I look is if you go back to LinkedIn and I search by content. So I would search for lead generation. And then once it loads up, what I'm trying to do is filter by content. And the idea behind this is I'm looking for people who are writing content, who are creating resources that are similar to what I do. So this person says 2 days remaining, LinkedIn training course. And there are 72 people like it and 63 comments. So instead of myself doing loads of paid ads, loads of marketing to try and find these people, I can simply click on this and start connecting with these people. Now, I know this works because this person here is a previous customer of mine. So I know she's interested in my stuff because she's interested in that person's. So if I'm trying to find a target audience, one way to search is by your keywords, and try and think of this like SEO when you're optimizing your site. What keywords are people talking about that are relevant? So if you look at this, what you can then do is try and see all the people who are interacting and then just connect with them. And one of the tools I'm going to show you later allows you to copy this link, scrape all the people from the posts, and send a campaign to them. So I'll go through that process again because it can be really powerful if you get this right. So under search, try and find a keyword. So I think this could be one, startup MVP. And look at content. And I did this one time with a development agency. So the agency I was working for, their target audience was startups who want an MVP built. And by filtering with this, we looked at anybody that was talking about startups MVP and the people interacting with certain posts. And then we started targeting them to say, hey, we can help you build your MVP. So the idea is if you can find a post that's fairly active, so say that one was like 77 people, click on it, and then you can start interacting with them. Or you can copy the link to a post and you can start to download that. There's one extra bit of sort of software that could really help you with this if you want to go a little bit more detailed, and I might as well show you this. So there's a software called Phantom Buster. And this is a tool that can scrape all sorts of different bits of information. But in the case of today, I only want to show you about LinkedIn. So I'll quickly share this here. And one of the tools that it has is this functionality here, I'll show you, called LinkedIn Likers. And what this tool does is imagine you can create a spreadsheet, and on that spreadsheet, you paste on every single link of a post that you'd like to scrape. So for example, I would click this post, add to spreadsheet, this post, add to spreadsheet, this post, add to spreadsheet, until I've got something like 50 posts. And then on the Google spreadsheet, I use this tool and I run the steps. And what happens is this tool will go through all of those posts, scrape everybody who's liked the posts, and leave you with a spreadsheet with all people's LinkedIn profiles. So by running this bit of software, you could be left with about 1,000 people who've all interacted with posts. So imagine the context of this. You can scrape all of your competitors' posts. You could scrape all the people who like your posts, but you might not be connected with them. You could scrape all people that might be interested in content that somebody else is talking about and you want to connect with them. So it's a little bit more detailed, and I could do a full webinar just on this. But the idea is one way of finding your target audience is by content. So searching, filtering by content, and then finding posts that people are interested in. And you can either manually click and start connecting with these, or you can use a software like Phantom Buster that will scrape all of the posts and give you all the LinkedIn profiles that you want to target. So those are two searches. One is searching by what they do, as in job title. The other one is searching by content. The final one that I want to show you is by searching by groups. So if you think of why things like Facebook ads or LinkedIn ads or even Google ads are so great, is they can be very specific of people's interests, not just what they do. So on LinkedIn, instead of paying for ads, if you can find a group where people are in, then they could all be part of that group with like-minded interests. So for example, if I look for, let's see, startup Bosnia, and let's see if there's anything here. And you can filter by groups and one member. So it's not really too popular. If I look at Startup UK, and there you go, there's a group with 1,000 in. So the idea is when I want to target a certain country, what I might do is just look at Startup Lithuania, let's see what they have. 8 members, 700. So this is probably a good one, 700 members. So the idea is if you can try and find a group where all of your target audience are in, then you don't need to filter by job title or filter by content. You just need to find that group and the people are in that group. So once they're in that group, you can do the following. So when you go to a group, you can click join or join the group. And what you can see is once you join the group, you see all the different content and things are happening. But there's one really amazing thing that you can do that you're part of a group that LinkedIn doesn't really advertise, and it's the following. So if you click on, I'll show you a group I'm not part of, so just any random one. If you're not part of a group, it'll say there, request to join. And once you click request to join, what you can then do is filter when you're in groups. So I'll just see, I think it's here, my groups. Yeah. And see sort of a group that I'm part of. You can click here and say, see all members. And one amazing thing that you can do when you're part of a group is you can message anybody directly, don't have to pay for it, and you don't have to connect with them. So I'll show you how this means. So imagine this person here. If I tried to find them normally on LinkedIn, it would look like this. And the only way that I could speak to this person is if I connect with them. So I either have to pay for it because it says it's locked, or I have to connect with them and I have to add a note, and that's all. But there's a good chance this person will ignore me. However, because we're both in the same group, I can message and just get in touch and send. So what's really important about this is that if you can find a group of like-minded people, so I think in the context there of if your target audience is e-commerce, try and find a group that's about e-commerce. So e-commerce business owners. Let's have a look. See if you can find a group and see if there's one where there's anything relevant, e-commerce UK, for example. And if you can join that group, you can then message anybody that's in that group. So if you think about this again, there's a few things. Trying to search by the group name. So I'm going to just search starter, for example. Filter, instead of people or content, filter by groups. And then in the group, find the one that's relevant for you. And then if you request to join, you can message anybody that's within the group. So that's one thing that can really help you. The other thing that can really help is, again, going back to this tool, you can also scrape everybody that's part of a group. So I'll just find the one here. Here we go, LinkedIn group members. And so you can scrape, if you're join the group, this tool will help you scrape the first 2,500 people from a LinkedIn group. So imagine after this talk, you request to join 5 LinkedIn groups that are all about e-commerce businesses. And then tomorrow you're accepted, you use this tool and you scrape those. You've suddenly got 10,000 LinkedIn profiles that are all part of people that are interested in e-commerce. And then if you do a LinkedIn campaign to target them, you can automate a lot of these processes to connect with them. Or next week when I do a talk about email marketing, I'll show you how to find anybody's email address from LinkedIn profiles. So this may seem a little bit sort of detailed or growth hacky or that sort of thing, but it's worth reading into this. But the idea is if you can find a target audience in terms of a group and you can join the group, you can either message anybody or you can scrape all of the profiles, and then you've got a huge database of people to decide how you want to target them. So just a final recap in terms of LinkedIn, you have 3 ways to find your target audience. One is the normal search. So search, and then you search by people. The other is to search by content, and you can try and scrape all the people who like content. The other one is groups, and you can scrape all the people who like groups. And then there's one final one that I don't do a lot, but it might be relevant to you. And I'll show you again back here on Phantom Buster. And this is the idea of learners. Here we go. So imagine somebody's doing a course online about LinkedIn lead generation. What I can do, again, is using this tool, is scrape everybody who's attended that course about LinkedIn, lead generation, whatever it might be, and then target them as well. So as long as you have an idea of who your target audience on LinkedIn, you can use this tool called Phantom Buster to pull it out all in sort of massive amounts. Or if you want to do it manually, you can just click on that one person and speak to them. So a lot of information there, but this is sort of the point of my talks is always to broaden your mindset of what's out there, to then pass over to you to start a research and learn on your own terms, and maybe email me in the future once you have some more detailed questions. So if you think of where we are at the moment, you have your LinkedIn profile and you have your LinkedIn searches. The next huge thing is, how do you actually connect with people, and how do you get people to want to interact with you? And so the idea behind this is, again, if you go back to these, this is brilliant. So Milan, hi Patrick, just joined your webinar. Would like to connect and stay in touch. Interested to learn more about your work and follow you. It's amazing. The reason I like that is, Milan, you've kissed my ass a bit. You've made me feel good. You've made me think like, I like your content. I want to stay in touch. So of course I'm going to click accept. So being friendly, showing emotion, showing passion is making me want to accept. So what I'll show you here is a few slides on LinkedIn connecting that I hope is relevant for you. So let's see if that works okay. Can everybody let me know, or can somebody let me know you can just see my screen okay? Just say yes, or just send me a quick message or something like that. Perfect, thanks. So I think quickly, in terms of LinkedIn messaging, there's a few things. And the main one is, why do you even send a connection message? So many people connect and usually click send. And there's a few ones. First one is build a relationship. The more bespoke you can be, the more friendly you can be, the more you can get that person to feel great about themselves, the better. The other one is to generally grow your network. So if you think about when you connect with somebody, you then get access to their second degree and third degree connections. So just by making sure that everybody you can connect with accepts, makes your search criteria bigger and bigger. And then this one here about how to make it that little bit more personalized, how to make that person feel special. I think there's one thing that's really important, and it's this one here. It is never to sell your service. So a LinkedIn connection message is never, hey, my name's Patrick, I work at Prospect Labs, I have a LinkedIn tool, do you want to sign up? Never at all. The connection message should be, hey, I'm really passionate about LinkedIn lead generation. It would be great to learn about each other and see how we can help each other. So a connection message is like the first small talk at a bar. It's like a first small talk when you get into a relationship and meeting somebody. It's not going from stranger to getting married. It's stranger to saying, hey, can we be friends? And this is what the connection message is all about. So I want to show you a few examples of the different sort of psychology. And again, there's no right or wrong. It's more like an intro to what can help you. So on the LinkedIn messages, I would say there's 4 possible ones and 1 mix. So ego, empathy, sales, shared interests, and advice plus ego. So this first one here is an example of ego. And by ego, I mean you're sending a connection message to somebody to make them feel better. So they think, yep, this sounds great. I feel good. I'll click accept. So the example here is, hey, first name, I've been reading your posts for the past couple of weeks and learned a lot that I'm now starting to use myself. It would be great to connect, to keep learning from you. So that connection message shows that they like my content, they like what I'm doing, and would like to be part of my network, that sort of thing. So trying to find a connection message where the person on the other side will make them feel better about themselves. So you could say, I read your blog, I'm a big fan of what you do, I saw you at a talk, I've tried your software, I love it. Say something that makes them feel special, could get a high connection rate. Okay. This one here, empathy, so important at the moment. So many businesses are disrupted. So many people are furloughed. I don't know if you know that word. So many people are sort of off work or have been made redundant, have been fired, that sort of thing. So showing empathy is very important. So you could connect with something like this. Hi, first name, with these difficult times and so many businesses being disrupted, I feel it's more important than ever to connect and support each other as best we can. So what you're trying to say is, I don't want to work with you straight away, but I feel like if I can help you in any way, please let me know. And this should get a good response rate if your LinkedIn profile looks good and your target audience of who you're searching for are looking good also. So trying to get that message right. Okay, this one here, sales. So I never want you to say, hey, I've got a software, do you want to book a demo? It's too aggressive, and it's much more likely that someone will click ignore instead of accept, because nobody likes to be sold to. They like to be converted from a small talk to a sale, but not sold to straight away. So this connection message is a bit more about a content of what you could offer them in the future. So I would say, hi, first name, I'm the founder of Prospect Labs and write a lot of content about growth hacking and lead generation that you might find helpful. Would be great to connect and learn from each other. So what I'm saying in this is I write content that you might have some relevance for. Let's connect, let's get to know each other. I'm not saying I have a LinkedIn tool. I'm saying I write content that you might find relevant. And what I'm hoping is if they like the relevant content and they connect, in the future, they might like my tool as well. So the goal is to get somebody to click accept. And then we have shared interests. So this isn't my favorite, but it is something that can help you to have something in common. So if you find all the people who like a certain LinkedIn post and you connect with them, you could say, hi, first name, I saw you attended LinkedIn training, or I saw you watch Patrick Collins's LinkedIn webinar. I'm a big fan of his work. It would be great to connect also. So you're trying to connect of something you've got in common. In this example, I saw you're part of the Growth Hacking for Startups group and wanted to get in touch. It would be great to connect and learn from each other. So you're trying to find a way of what you've got in common that you can connect with. And then this final one here, advice plus ego. So I know a lot of people do this when they're trying to target corporates or more influential people. And the idea behind this is if you want money, ask for advice. If you want advice, ask for money. So if you connect with somebody and say, hey, would like to have a call, would like to get in touch, they'll probably reply and telling you what you've done wrong. However, if you connect with them and say, I'm writing a blog post about something, as you're an expert in this field, I would love to ask you some questions, get your feedback. Would that be okay? And what happens is if you can connect someone that way, and then if you can have a call with them and interview them, you get something like an hour with somebody very influential that probably wouldn't normally speak to you. And within that hour, you then get the opportunity to get to know them, they get to know you and get to know more about your business. But the one thing is you do have to produce something from it, a podcast, a blog, some feedback, something like that. But I know this approach can work very, very well of trying to get somebody of influence to get on the call with them by having this approach. So that's a mix of all of the LinkedIn sort of campaigns. And what I'd like to know is what sort of approach do you think would be relevant for you? So are you a fan of ego, empathy, sales, shared interests, or advice plus ego? And I'd be interested to see what everybody thinks. So my favorite one is probably the advice plus ego. That's the one I do. Can anybody let me know if you were to pick one of those, which one would you pick? So Nina, you think advice plus ego. Anybody else? Shared interest. Interesting. So what was interesting is I did a talk to companies in Lithuania and it was in the hotel industry and they all just said sales. And the reason being they were all just, I don't care about messaging. I just want sales. I just want sales. But they were all on the webinar because they were struggling for sales. So it's very good for you to see the reason behind this. And Svetlana, it's a good point. It depends on the reason for connection. But in general, if it's about sort of lead generation, I think you need to find a way to make this bespoke. You can still do this in scale, but you want the person on the other side to feel like there's something in common that you can add value, that sort of thing. Okay, next thing. What I want to quickly show you is some of the expected results that you can get. Because a lot of people on LinkedIn go a little bit too aggressive and you can really damage your account. So there are a few things. When you're connecting with people, if you're getting less than about 20% of people that accept, so you send 100, 20 people accept, it's too low. So you're looking for more than about 40%. If you can get about 50%, that's great. And 60% is amazing. You'll very rarely get to 70, 80%. But if you can get to something like 40 to 50%, it's very good going. So if you're getting a very low acceptance rate, it's because your target audience are wrong, your profile image is wrong, or your messaging is wrong. The other thing is this one here. If too many people click ignore, your account will get flagged. So if you're not sending a connection message at all, you're just clicking send, 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 your account will get flagged. And what flagged means is it'll pop up and say, to connect with this person, you need to add an email address. So make sure that you're really making this bespoke because this LinkedIn profile is going to last you the next 20, 30, 40 years of your life. It's the most valuable marketing software you'll ever have. So you need to treat this with the utmost respect and protect it. So when you're connecting with people, good looking profile message, profile picture, good looking profile, good tagline, and then the right connection message with the right target audience, or you put yourself into danger. And this is one thing I now want to go into. So if you imagine you have your profile, you have your target audience, and you have your messaging. The difficult thing is, how do you find the time to send messages and then follow up? And this is a big problem that people have. So about less than 58% of people never follow up with a prospect. So you could, the idea would be you would message me and say, hey, Pat, I really liked your talk. Would love to know more about how you work. And I just never reply. So many people are just too busy. They don't reply, or they take weeks. 25% of people make second contact. So I'll reply to you, you reply back to me, and then I just forget. Useless. 12% of sales people only make 3 contacts, 10 make more than 3. And so all of these, you're trying to see, are you making sort of enough points of contact? When it comes to sales, this is what will be really important. 2% of sales are made on the first contact. So you message me and say, hey, Pat, like the talk, sign me up. Very rarely happens. 3% on the second, 5 on the third, 10 on the fourth, but 80% are made on the 5th to 12th contact. So what I mean by this is it's not 5 to 12 messages saying reply, reply, reply. It's something like a LinkedIn message, then another LinkedIn message, then you might have an email reply, then you might have a call, then another email, then a call, then a meeting. But I'm talking about touch points in terms of relationships. Now, this will be different between all businesses, but what I want you to realize is that if you just do one thing or just do 2 things, it's not enough. You need to find a way of how to follow up, how to chase people up, and how to automate part of this process. Otherwise, you just don't have time to do it. So I'll share all those resources with you. But what I want to show you is this tool here. So this is my own LinkedIn lead generation tool, and this is about to go live in about 2 weeks' time. But if anybody wants to try it out for free this month, I'm more than happy for you to use it. The reason I've built this is because all of my training is around helping people generate more leads from LinkedIn, but they struggle with so many different aspects. And one of the biggest aspects is how to get the target audience data and how to message them. So on my tool, what I've tried to do is make it as easy as possible for you to get the data into this tool. And you can do it of one of sort of 3 ways. One way is a basic search. So what I mean by this is that you can find your target audience, as I showed you before here. And you can simply say, 2nd degree, United States, whatever you want to do. And that target audience there, instead of the URL, that's what you would paste. Very simply, click search, and that would pull in everybody up to the first 1,000 people into the tool. The other way is you can import a CSV. So when I talk to you about using that tool, Phantom Buster, you could scrape all the people from a LinkedIn group, all the people who like posts, all the people from another database, and simply upload them into here to stop messaging them. And then the final way you can get data into here is post engagement. So very simply, I can look at any content, something like this, or let's see a bit more popular one. This one here, 2000. And what's great about this is LinkedIn are doing learning ads, and all the people who like it, I can copy the link, put it into my tool, add the specific number here, and that's it, press search. And that will pull in, however many we've got here, 2,300 people who like this. So if my target audience were JavaScript users, for example, I could pull them all into here and have a database. So Anna, your feedback here, unfortunately, you forgot the most important thing, the message. Yeah, of course, and I always connect with anybody from the company, so or from the talk, so I'm not picking on you. In terms of the search, that's multiple ways of how you get your data in. But once you do get the data in, it then looks like this, and you have your target audience of all the people in, job title, role, company, that sort of thing. If it's from a post, it can look like this. So same way, all the people who interacted with the posts. So that's step 1. Step 2 is then how do you actually message these people? And what you can very easily do is create a campaign And I'll show you sort of this one here. And the campaign is mixed between the people that are in the campaign and then the steps of what you want to send. And what's great about this is it'll send a connection message and then a follow-up and then a follow-up until the person replies. So my connection message was, hi, first name. I was reading a post by Cristobal, saw you comment on. As we both working with Startup Wise guys, it would be great to connect. And then what I did is if they don't, once they accept, if they don't reply, I then send a follow-up saying, thanks for connecting. I work with Startup Wise guys. Let me know if you need any help, that sort of thing. And so it's only sort of a small sample set, only 36 people, but 75% of people connected and nearly 50% replied. So you can get really good results by having this automation. So pulling in the data, creating a connection campaign and start messaging them. And then the final bit that I think is very, very important is that when you do have campaigns going on LinkedIn and really pushing a lot of activity, how do you stay on top of your messages? And what I mean by this is that if I go to my messages here on normal LinkedIn, and I do something like this, I just mark a message and that's it, very quickly, it just slips away. So before I know it, I've marked it as read and I forget to do it. However, on this, what you can do is always filter by anybody that replied. So I can say any status that is replied, and these are all the people that replied, and I can catch up with them, I can speak to them, I can do whatever I want to do. So what I've tried to build within this tool is helping you to automate all of those processes of finding your target audience, of pulling the data in, of sending campaigns and keeping on top of everything. And one of the biggest problems that I find with startups is they don't have the time, but they don't want to take the risk of test things. So they have the excuses of, I want to wait until it's perfect. And instead I say, use automation to test what your perfect audience is. Uras, in terms of connector CRM, yeah, you can do that. So the way I have built here is webhooks. And what you can do is to say, anybody that does a certain activity. So anybody who connects, anybody who replies, anybody who's had a connection request sent, anything like that, you can pull this data out and then send it to your CRM. It needs to go via a tool called Zapier. So I don't know if you've used before, but that tool there called Zapier. There's no direct integration because it's very hard to integrate anything from LinkedIn direct to CRM, but via Zapier, that's probably the best tool. If you don't want to integrate, then I would recommend this tool called Linked Match. And this tool here is very, very powerful for if you have somebody on LinkedIn that you want to add to your sales CRM, you just click the profile and it syncs it to your sales CRM very quickly. So really easy to use. But I think in terms of my own tool, that's why I've tried to build. So I'll give you all a link if I can get your email address. So I think if Vlad shares my email afterwards, if anybody wants to try this for free for this month, I'm more than happy for you to test it out, see what you think. Let me know any bugs, anything like that. But I've been testing this out with some of my own clients. I think I can show you here. Yeah, this is from today, and you can see this person's got, let's have a look here. Yeah, there we go. 5 messages replied to, and if we can look at the campaigns, and this is a real one. So he's getting about 50% accepting and about 40% replying, and that's sent 234 requests. So it's really working, is a great tool. So I would love for you to test that out and see the sort of potential. And as you can see there, he's got 17 messages I need to reply to. So the tool's keeping me busy of trying to generate leads for them. So I appreciate that's a real sort of quick brain dump on lots of different sort of LinkedIn profile processes. But I think the whole goal is I always want in my talks for you to open up your mindset of what's out there. Not to understand everything straight away, but to inspire you to push the boundaries a little bit to say, what more can you do? So I think the main things to summarize are number 1, and I'll share these in the conversations here. So optimize your LinkedIn profile. And I'll share with you a blog that I've written that should help you with this. So 1 second. Okay. So it's not that one. let's see. Okay, so step one is optimize your LinkedIn profile. Make it relevant that when you want to start connecting with people, you get that right. Step two is find your target audience. And again, I think I've got a blog for that, so I'll just check. How to find them. Yeah, there you go. Okay, and then step three is create the messaging. And the messaging is a mix of the connection message, a follow-up when somebody accepts, and then one or two messages to chase up if they don't reply to you. I think in terms of messaging, I'll share all the slides that I have, and then from those slides, you can feel free to copy and use a sort of however you want to use it. If I can, I'll see if I can maybe attach that there. That might be even better, actually. So 1 second. Week 3 and week 4. Okay, so I've shared both of those slides, and they're all about the LinkedIn searches and then the LinkedIn messaging. And then step 4 is automate campaigns. And to do that, if you want to email me, I'm happy to let you get set up on that. So those are sort of my 4 steps. Find your target, so optimize your profile, find your target audience, create the messaging, and switch it on. In terms of a B2B business, I think the sorts of numbers you're looking for are something like 30 to 40 leads a month. And if you can get maybe 10 demos booked per month, that's good going. Some go higher, some go lower, but that's about expected results you get. So if you think about, if you get 10 demos, what's the value of converting those? Then you can sort of estimate, is this a good channel from you? The other thing to consider is when you're connecting with people, when you're getting more leads, there's then the additional value of when you start to create content, which I haven't really talked about, more people are going to be seeing that content in your audience. So it's a really nice way of finding a sort of a process of connecting with people, getting business leads, but also growing your network, also growing your brand. The final thing that I want to show you here is it's not a tool that I use, but I think it's worth you looking at. And it's a tool here called Lempod. Has anybody on the talk used this tool before? So has anybody heard of Lempod before I explain? Okay. I think this will fry your brains a little bit. This is, I did one talk and somebody said, this is the dark arts of marketing and my whole life's a lie. So it was quite a lot of feedback. So Uros, if you tried this, great. Basically, the way this works is that if you connect to this software, what you do is join a pod, and a pod is a community of people. So I might join the startup of Bosnia, for example, and it would be a pod of all people with like-minded interests. And by using this tool, what I say is anybody in the pod has access to my my LinkedIn profile, but I've got access to those. So the way it works is that you create a LinkedIn post. So you join a pod and you share a post. So I might say, my LinkedIn tool is going live next week. I would love everybody to sign up. And I say the post of where I want to share. And then what happens is that I can automatically write all of the posts that I want to show underneath my profile, but it shows as other people's posts. So in essence, it means that my LinkedIn post, so I'll show you an example. I could have a LinkedIn post like this, and it looks like Tom Osman has posted, but he hasn't. I've written that content and I've posted it, but it's coming from Tom's profile. So it's a bit of a sort of wacky idea to get your head around. But the idea behind this is that you can create a LinkedIn post. You can have 30 or 40 comments underneath, loads of different people interacting, but none of them are real. They're all written by you. But the idea behind this is if that you can trick the sort of LinkedIn algorithm to show that your posts are very popular, it'll publicize it wider and more real people will actually see it. The other thing is it makes your brand look more powerful. It makes you look more popular because you're creating content that looks like it's very well perceived. So have a look at that tool. I think it's the sort of like the devil's work. It's a really horrible tool because it's basically fake news. It's not real interaction. It's not real content. However, in the startup environment, there's this idea of fake it till you make it. And if you can fake it enough to get a customer to buy from you, particularly if it's your early customers, then it serves a purpose. So it's not harmful in any way, but it's just not real. But the idea is, if you're making a lot of LinkedIn content, but you're not getting any interaction, have a look at this tool. One sort of user case that I found people actually liked this is they said, well, I'm not going to use this, but it makes me happier to know that other people are using this, and I'm not just the only one that's struggling with interaction. So it might be that your competitors getting crazy amounts of reactions, and when you start to look closer, you actually feel a bit sorry for them because they're right in their own replies. So it's a really interesting tool, but I do know a lot of people use it and get some good results from it. So try it out. So I think that's everything that I want to explain today in terms of the processes, in terms of the messaging, in terms of how to approach this. I think the final thing is over from yourself. If anybody wants to let me know any questions you have, so anything in regards to LinkedIn lead generation, messaging, target audience, anything like that. Likewise, after this talk, if you want to email me, it might be a case that you want to speak about something in more detail. And if so, I'm more than happy to have a call or I'll communicate via email. But I think that's everything from my side, just to try and give you sort of a brain dump of how to go from what you're currently doing to fine tuning a lot of these bits: profile, target audience, messaging, and then automation. And if you can get those right, you can see your sort of profiles exploding and the amount of leads exploding. And if you have a sales team, you suddenly see that every day they get multiple conversations. And if anybody on the talk has good English, but you're not really confident of English on the phone, LinkedIn is an amazing platform to generate leads, build up a relationship. And then by the time you do calls or demos, it's nothing about your accent. It's all about just the product and what you have to offer. So that's why I like these digital platforms, particularly for non-native English, to really build up more information. So I think that's everything for me. Vlad, I don't know if you want to say anything to wrap up, but I think that's everything I want to explain at the moment. Otherwise, I think about 6 or 7 o'clock on a Tuesday night, people's brains may melt a little bit.
First of all, thank you, Patrick. I just want to share the message that we will send the recordings of the video. So there was a bunch of information, and I think probably people will look once or twice again to catch everything. And we will share, of course, materials that you sent to us. And hopefully we will meet again next Tuesday with you people. So we will be in touch next days. If you have some more questions for Patrick, feel free to write or unmute yourself, ask. And if not, we will wrap up for today.
Yeah, and Vlad, I'll share you an email with a summary with some slides, some links and posts. And then if you want to forward that to the teams, that's probably the best way to go.
Yeah, definitely. We'll forward everything.
And then a quick intro in terms of next week, what I'm going to be talking about is how to find anybody's email address, how to create email campaigns, and how to generate leads via cold emailing. So a little bit similar today, but all direct to email instead of LinkedIn.
Okay. Thank you once more.
Perfect.
And thank you everyone for participating. We will keep in touch by email and see you next Tuesday.
Brilliant. Keep in touch, everyone. Take care. Thanks for your time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.